Good morning, everybody, and good morning to those viewing online. My name is Councillor George Farquhar, and I'll be presiding for the start of this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee on the 22nd of January. The first order of business is the election of chair. I'm presiding at the moment, so could I ask for a nomination for election of chair, please?
I nominate yourself, Councillor Farquhar.
Thank you very much. And can I have a seconder?
Yes.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
second.
As the chair, I now call upon the clerk to actually deal with some housekeeping.
There we go. Right. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. The meeting may also be recorded or streamed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, although ultimate discretion in this matter lies with the chair in case of disruption. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point at the War Memorial in the gardens opposite the front of this building in Bourne Avenue. Finally, please can we ensure that background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. For those in the room, this includes turning off microphones and turning the volume down completely on your laptops. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Are there any apologies for this particular meeting?
None received.
I'll now ask for declarations of interest. Councillor Dower, do you have any declarations of interest?
No, I don't have any declarations, thank you.
Councillor Filer?
No declarations.
And as Councillor George Farquhar and chair of this meeting, I have no declarations. This meeting is for the review of the premises licence of the Riviera Bar and Restaurant at 560 Christchurch Road, Bournemouth, BH1 4BHR. I will now ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role at the hearing today. My name, as I said, is Councillor George Farquhar, and I'm the chair of the subcommittee. Councillor Dower.
I'm Councillor Dower and I'm a member of the subcommittee.
I'm
Councillor.
Councillor Anne Filer, a member of the subcommittee.
I bring the hearing's attention to Councillor Chapman Law, who's on my left. He's a reserve member and he's not required to participate, and he won't participate in any way in this particular hearing, but he's here for observation and training purposes. And he is a member of the licensing committee, but not the sub-licensing committee. Can I hear from Tanya?
Morning, Chair. Thank you. Tanya Jardine, Licensing Officer.
Ms. Cole?
I'm Linda Cole, the legal advisor to the subcommittee today.
And our clerk?
Good morning, I'm Michelle Cutler and I'm clerk to the licensing subcommittee today. Thank you.
And for the applicant, Sergeant Gareth Gosling.
Good morning, Chair. Sergeant Gareth Gosling, Dorset Police Drug and Alcohol Harm Reduction Team.
And you're accompanied by?
Morning, Chair. Louise Busfield, Licensing Officer under the same team as the Sergeant.
Can I call you on you, Mr. Panchal?
Yeah, Mr. Panchal from PLC UK Limited, representing the license holder. I've got just Chairman to quickly rush through. I've got a few people from the CCTV operator and the incoming new operator for the premises which are present with me. I do apologize, I've got plenty of people, but I do have to bring them in. That is the DPS, the license holder of the premises presently, and that is the DPS of the premises. Can you get your name?
Mrs. Anita Singh and the premises license holder.
I'm Taranjit Singh, DPS holder as the current license of Nivion Riviera Bar.
I'm Sarah Day. I am one of the managers at the Riviera Bar, who's also a license holder.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. I've got the incoming new operator who's going to be taking over, which I will be presenting and letting you know who they are taking over. And I've got the CCTV SIA staff who were present during the incident, who I do want them to say a few words when I'm presenting my case.
Thank you very much. Could we have those names, please? If you come up to the microphone for the purposes of the record and press the little speaker button, and then state your names and what your role is.
Senior Menezes, I'm part of the SIA security line, so was present on the incident.
Hello, my name is Roger Matovu. I'm a director with Express Security, and I wasn't there when the incident happened, but I was informed about the incident.
Thank you very much, Mr. Panchel.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, my name is Utpal. I'm here for the CCTV operators. I'm one of the directors of TFSS Limited, who is looking after fire and safety system of Mr. Panchal.
Sorry, I didn't catch your surname.
My name is Utpal Banga.
And the last one, Mr. Panchel.
Hello, my name is Monideepa Banga, and I'm taking over the pub. Thank you.
Sorry, when Mrs. Banga said that she's taking over the pub, it's this proposed designated premises supervisor. Understood. All right. Is there a relationship between between Mr. Banga and Mrs. Banga? Husband and wife. Thank you. Just a question from legal. When Mrs. Day introduced herself, she said that she was a premises license holder. Did she mean personal license holder? Personal license holder. Thank you. Before I run through the procedure, may I please check that all persons who have given notice of their intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw any representation or wishes not to speak has been identified. Since there are no comments, I'll take this as correct. I will now explain the proposed procedure and the order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report. Then there are questions of the licensing officer by all parties. The members of the subcommittee will go first. The applicant themselves, Dorset Police, will then make their application. There will then be questions of the applicant by all parties, and again, the members of the subcommittee will go first. All parties will be given the opportunity. Skipped a line. Persons representing the premises will make their representations. Questions of the persons representing the premises, again, with the members of the subcommittee to go first. All parties will be given the opportunity to sum up their presentations, with the party who spoke last to go first in the summing up. The hearing will then conclude, and the subcommittee will deliberate in private with a legal advisor and the clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning on this day, or the last day of the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. I will now ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure for making representations. Sergeant Gosman.
Yes, you've got our agreement, Chair. Of course. Thanks.
Ms. Juddy.
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Mr. Patel.
Yes, thank you.
I would remind all parties speaking not to repeat their information which they've already given in writing, but to expand on that information in their presentations. All questions will be asked through me as the chair, and there will be no cross-examination of the parties. Finally, please note that in relation to this item of business, the subcommittee may be asked to consider the following resolution in relation to the content of any video footage that is to be shown at the hearing and any supplementary information that may be submitted prior to the hearing. That under section 14(2) of the Licensing Act 2003, hearings, regulations 2005, and with regard to section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting of the following item of business on grounds that the public interest in withholding the information outweighs such interest in disclosing the information, and that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1, 2, 7 in part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act. May I now ask the licensing officer to present their report.
Thank you, Chair. So application was made by Dorset Police for a review of the premises licence at Riviera Bar and Restaurant under section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003 on the grounds that they believe the premises are not upholding the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives. The review application was lodged following several incidents of disorder and intelligence associated with the premises since they reopened in June 2024, and on the basis that this premises is associated with significant crime and disorder. Dorset Police no longer have any confidence in the DPS and premises licence holder to uphold the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objectives. And they are concerned that if the crime and disorder continues, there is a risk to public safety associated with these premises. These premises were subject to a review application submitted by Dorset Police in 2019. At the time, the Licensing Subcommittee accepted that discussions had taken place between Dorset Police and the licence holder's legal representative prior to the hearing and agreed to modify the conditions to include conditions offered during mediation, along with a change of DPS and premises licence holder, and for the business to be sold. The premises were subsequently transferred to a new operator who also became the DPS. The premises were transferred into the name of Mrs. Singh, and the DPS varied into Mr. Singh's name in October 2020. I note there's an error in the report on paragraph 4 in that I state it's January 2021, but that was when we sent the licence out and I put the wrong date on. So the correct date that we received the application to transfer was the October 2020. It's our understanding that the premises closed in 2020 and reopened again in 2024. Since the submission of the review application, the licensing authority have been advised of further incident with which members would have seen on the report, but Dorset Police can go into it into more detail. And Mr. Singh's legal representative, Mr. Panchal, has indicated that in order to address the concerns raised by Dorset Police, they are proposing to transfer the premises licence to a new operator. No specific information has been received as to who the new operators will be, but perhaps Mr. Panchal can address that matter during the meeting. Members are reminded that any powers exercised by them must be necessary and appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and directed at the causes of concern, which the application identifies once these have been established through this hearing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jardine. Does the subcommittee have any questions for the licensing officer?
Not at this time, thank you.
If I may ask a couple of questions, it's probably not in your gift to answer them, and I'll save some of those from your presentation for the DPS and the premises license holder. My question is, what is the purpose of a personal license, and how does one go about achieving a personal license? Microphone, please.
Apologies. So the personal license, you obtain it firstly via a course, and then you need to apply to your local authority to apply for that license. It permits or allows, firstly, there's 2 points to it. One is to become a DPS. You cannot be a DPS, a designated premises supervisor, without a personal license. And secondly, you go through training. So one would hope that by doing that training, you learn how to manage or work in a licensed premises. Does that answer your query?
It does. Who is responsible for that training?
We don't provide that information. We usually ask that applicants look for it themselves. So some colleges do, some companies do online, or there's various online, but we don't provide that information.
So am I right in thinking you could do this entirely online to get a personal license?
I think you might. I think you can. I think you can.
May I ask a follow-up question? Can a personal license ever be withdrawn?
So a personal license cannot be, as far as I know, no, because it's a course, it's a certificate that you get from it. DPS, if you did become a DPS, then normally it's with convictions, but it's just a case-by-case basis. If anything comes to our attention that is decided that that person is no longer suitable to be a DPS, but that tends to be through the police. So the police are the ones that would bring it up, or it's their decision ultimately. We merely administer and issue the license for someone that lives within the locality.
Understood. And these may seem fairly basic questions, but we are in a public space here, and this has been broadcast to the public. So just on the personal license holder responsibilities, can you serve alcohol in the premises without a personal license?
Not to sell alcohol, you need a DPS that has a personal license. So you'd need a personal license holder as well as the premises license.
So it's not possible to in a premises to sell alcohol unless you have gone through the course and you are qualified to hold a personal license.
You cannot sell alcohol on a premises without a designated premises supervisor who would have had to go through all that process. Yes.
Okay, I understand. Just wanted to be clear on that. Would that designated premises supervisor have to be in the premises when that transaction took place?
Not necessarily. There should be some line of responsibility passed on. So they might have a document or might have given that authority to members of their staff. They don't necessarily have to be there unless they have specific conditions on the license to state that they have to be on the premises at all times. Otherwise, no, but they need to be available. So if a responsible authority or anyone visited the premises and needed to speak to the DPS, they should be readily available, and they are the person responsible for anything going wrong under the premises license.
Understood. That answers my next question. What's the purpose of a DPS? You said that if it was a condition of the license, they don't need to be on the premises, but there needs to be that line of contact. Does this particular premises license have that condition whereby the DPS must be on site?
Without looking in detail, I can't confirm that, I'm afraid, but I can have a look and let you know in a minute.
I'll check with the premises license holder. Thank you. Have any questions occurred to the sub-licensing committee?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you.
Not from me at this time.
Sergeant Gosling, may I ask you yourself or Louise, have you got any questions for the licensing officer?
No questions at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Panchel, does the DPS or the designated premises supervisor have any questions for the licensing officer?
Sorry, Chair, just question regarding your presentation on number 4. Could we know who was the license holder in 2005? Because 2020, you have the license was transferred to Mr. Taranjit. Prior to that, is there any record you got who was a license?
I do have the information somewhere, but not here at the moment. It was transferred to an individual after the review.
For the review?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got the details. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Secondly, Chair, I'm a qualified license approval of the personal licenses. I run the courses. My firm runs the courses. We do all the licenses. We do about 100 licenses every month. And we do understand what the personal license is. So if you do need anything on the personal license, that's our job.
I appreciate that, Mr. Panshel, I will be asking questions of the personal license holders because once you've done your course, your job's completed. Do you ever have, well, I'll just ask in this particular, I'll take the pleasure of the chair. Do you have anybody who comes back for a refresher course for their personal license?
Yes, it all depends on the company that that is employing the ex-person. But there is a training manual that is that we prepared, and most of the premises buy those training manuals. I will show you a training manual around now, which is a very prominent thing. And in that training manual, the DPS normally notifies and puts up a training for his staff. And he also authorizes the.
If I just stop you there, we will actually get to that as part of the presentation. And I do apologise for asking that question out of turn. I simply wanted to understand if, because you run the courses and you offer that up, is do you have individuals come back to have refresher training for their license?
Yeah.
You do. Thank you. And I now call on the applicant, Dorset Police, to make their application, please.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. This is a premises that has had significant attention from Dorset Police and our partners over the years. In fact, we've got records dating back to the 29th of December 2017, when whilst the premises was still under the same ownership as it is now, we had cause to have visits, which is generally as a result of concerns that are raised. Previous to the pandemic, as you'll be aware from the papers, there were issues associated to the premises that resulted in the review, and without wishing to repeat the details that Tanya's already given, you will note that we worked hard in that instance to develop a set of conditions that it was felt by all might give the opportunity for the premises to demonstrate that they can consistently meet those licensing objectives. During the time that's preceded that review, there have been several changes of operator, some as a result of the review, some during the pandemic, and we find ourselves now with new operators, different operators to that were in place following that review. The premises, as Tanya has explained, has been closed for a significant period, opening only perhaps 6-7 months ago, and I'm sure the operators will be able to give a more detailed date, but it first came to our attention around 6-7 months ago. During that time, there has been engagement with the premises, both from Dorset Police and our partners, some of which have been as a result of incidents, and other occasions there's been visits made as part of our continued efforts to engage with premises as much as we can to ensure that those standards are upheld and that any support that's required or advice that's warranted is given. I'll move now to the incidents of most significant concern that has essentially led to this review being submitted. You have the full details of these incidents within the pack. I don't propose to take you through in detail, but of course I'm more than willing to give answer to any questions that you might have, and I'll answer the best that I can. We will come on as well to some CCTV, which I propose to show with Tanya's support once I've given you a brief summary of those incidents. So the first incident of note arose following an allegation of assault that took place within the courtyard at the rear of the premises. That incident, frustratingly, whilst it did involve significant injuries being sustained by the victim, there was no CCTV covering that area of the premises. That is a change to the layout of the premises, and there were some issues with regards to the submission of the renewed plans to include that area within the licensed area. And our understanding is that whilst certain aspects of those plans have now been resolved, there are now additional ongoing issues with the current plan with regards to how it's being used, and that's being looked at by the licensing authority. I'll move now to the second incident, And this one for me was the most significant, and preceded the third only by a day or so. But it involved what you'll see on the CCTV to be what I would consider to be serious disorder involving several individuals within a licensed premises. I've viewed this CCTV several times, as I'm sure you can imagine, and I would encourage you to please, in your deliberations, to view that CCTV several times. You might think that viewing it once or twice, you'll get a good understanding, but certainly for me, each time I view it, there are new things that I spot. One of those being, for example, that the gentleman who's serving behind the bar continues to serve a customer at the time that the disorder is taking place the other side of the bar. If you like, in the most lay terms, if you were to describe how a modern day bar or saloon, as they called them back in a sort of period of the Wild West, if you would look at a more modern version of that, I think the CCTV reflects that. There were injuries sustained, and we know from the CCTV that at least one individual momentarily lost consciousness and needed support that was provided by other customers. I won't go into that in any more detail, because I think when you view the CCTV, that will demonstrate the level of concern that we have around the management of the premises at that time. One thing that isn't included on that CCTV is the fact that when this incident then moved outside the premises, there were other people that became involved. One of those that became involved was a 16-year-old member of the public, and there was an assault against that individual. So moving on to the third incident, again, I wouldn't class this incident as serious as the second incident, purely on the basis that there was a lot more people involved and a clear lack of management with the second incident. But what we saw on the incident, on the third occasion, was that whatever happened inside was pushed outside. There was that push of everybody outside onto the pavement, and the doors were closed. That's to prevent those people. I understand that the perspective of the management at that time will have been to prevent that person from causing further disorder inside. But what resulted was further disorder outside. Is that right for the public of Boscombe, anybody visiting the area, to experience that level of disorder? Now, that incident involved other business operators having to get involved, and ultimately ended in the individual concerned being arrested, and for offences including assault against emergency workers, namely the police, trying to deal with an incident that essentially emanated from this premises. As you're aware, the review was submitted on the 7th of November. Breaches have actually been identified since. Now, that's exceptionally unusual. Generally speaking, when a review is submitted, we ordinarily see an immediate improvement in standards. Sometimes it's for the greater good and it will continue and be sustainable. But we have identified that there have been breaches, and we have written to the licence holder with regards to those. We have had, if you like, a degree of mediation, in so much as we have had an offer of new management, but that's not something that we're particularly prepared to entertain. Of course, it is for the committee to make the final determination, but I feel that Dorset Police have, during that last review, exercised a great deal of support and understanding in trying to come up with a solution to those problems that were identified at that time. I will pause there, if that's okay, in order first for us to, hopefully, with your blessing, Chair, go into an exempt session in order for us to show the CCTV before we continue.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Gosling. Can I just take a little bit of advice? Sergeant Gosling, I do agree it's advisable to go into exempt session. So with that in mind, under section 14.2 of the Licensing Act 2003 hearings, regulations 2005, and with regard to section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on grounds that the public interest in withholding the information outweighs such interest in disclosing the information, and that it involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1, 2, and 7 in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act. May I call upon the clerk to suspend the live stream, please?
Thank you, Chair. I will do that now.
Thank you very much. My name is Councillor George Farquhar, and we are recommencing the sub-licensing committee hearing on the 22nd of January. The break was for matters which are exempt, and we're now back in public session. So I'll call on Sergeant Gosling and Dorset Police to carry on with their application.
Thank you, Chair. I will be relatively brief. The incidents that have been described and that you have now seen footage of are not insignificant. The oversight that we are having to have over this premises is has become unsustainable. There is an increased emphasis with with the demand on public resources. There is an increased emphasis on relying on licensed premises and the professionals that work within them to ensure that all licensing objectives are consistently being upheld at their premises. We're simply not seeing that at Riviera. I have oversight of over 4,000 licensed premises throughout Dorset. There is a very small licensing team that have to do the work to make sure that we are supporting, engaging, coaching where necessary and is achievable, to make sure that standards are being upheld and that those 4 licensing objectives are being promoted, if you like, to make sure that everybody is safe and that these premises continue to be of benefit to our communities. It is exceptionally unusual for us to have to review a premises twice. Whilst the first review was held back in 2020, we have had the pandemic in that time. The period has had a period of closure, and therefore the amount of actually opening hours or days, I don't think it exceeds weeks, if I'm honest, between that last review and where we are now was relatively few. Whilst that is the end of my evidential submission, Chair, I would like to remind the members that there are clear guidelines, and Ms. Cole will support, of course, I'm sure, that require that any new information or evidence is produced to all parties in advance of the hearing. Our review paperwork was submitted on the 7th of November 2024, and the supplementary submission, which is lengthy and as comprehensive as we can, to make sure that we are being completely upfront with all the information that we have available to us, was provided back before Christmas, because I was keen to make sure that all parties had the opportunity to consider that, including the license holder, who would then have the opportunity to respond. You are aware that we have had no new information provided. That is no new information. So including the information that was provided earlier during our submission around invoices for different people, that's completely new. And whilst you'll be guided by Ms. Cole on this topic, you do require the agreement of everyone to accept that information. And I would invite you to ask why any new information has not been provided in advance of this hearing. Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further to add.
Does the subcommittee panel have any questions for Sergeant Gosling, bearing in mind that they should not relate to the information that's been provided and seen during the exempt session?
Nothing from me, Chair. Nothing from me, Chair.
Thank you, Sergeant Gosling. I don't have any questions at this time. Do we have any questions from our licensing officer?
No, Chair, thank you.
Do we have any questions from yourself, Mr. Passchendaele, or the DPS?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Just to clarify, as you mentioned earlier in your report that you train the SI staff. Am I right in saying that? You mentioned that you train the SI staff. They are through you that they go your department, wherever. Sorry.
No, sorry if I wasn't clear on that. I'll just answer that in the fullness to make sure there's no ambiguity over that. With regards to SIA staff, they are managed entirely by the Security Industry Authority. There is no involvement by the police. I think the point that you raised relates to the fact that we frequently work alongside the SIA. So for example, if we identify any concerns with SIA operatives, then it's incumbent upon us as partners to make sure that we report any concerns that we have, which generally revolve around unwarranted violence, issues such as that, or where they've come to our attention for significant crime. Then the data sharing agreement that exists between Dorset Police and between the SIA and most police forces require that we share that information with them so that they can make any decisions that is appropriate for that individual.
We're clarifying it because earlier you said that we look after the SIA, we look after the training of the police department generally, if you recall. I don't know whether you've meant it or not, but you did say that we look after, we get involved into their trainings and we get involved.
Mr. Passchendaele, can I just say that in the same way that I asked questions of the subcommittee, that you're not to ask questions for any information that was actually disclosed during the exempt session. So can you phrase your question in a different way? I think Sergeant Gosling has made it clear that Dorset Police are not responsible for the training of SIA staff anywhere within Dorset. They are there to support, but also they have an incumbent responsibility, should those SIA staff perhaps not be up to scratch, that they report it to the Security Industries Agency, who have that responsibility to ensure their staff are trained adequately.
Sorry, Chair, I did misunderstand when he presented earlier in his presentation that the police were involved in that's what I put down while he was speaking there. The training of police were done by the SI. I did put down when he was speaking. So that's my notes I was just asking. So
I think what he meant was the police, as in not Sergeant Gosling particularly, but generally the police would be involved with suggestions on the type of training and maybe engage with the SIAs to the type of incidents that would need to be trained on. So
just for complete clarity on it, the SIA are 100% wholly responsible for ascertaining the correct packages, anything to do with the training and the licensing of the SIA. That's wholly with the SIA, and I apologise if I've not communicated that clearly before. When it comes to any support from Dorset Police to any SIA operatives, that is very informal. If we are suggesting perhaps that they could have acted differently, then we will generally provide that information. Okay, we won't get into. It's not our responsibility to manage the individual performance of these operatives, so we're not there to make sure they do the best job they can. They're managed by contractors, contract management, and Actually, it's the designated premises supervisors that are expected to maintain that oversight over their performance. But like I said, the only time we become involved is if there's something that happens that we believe would be relevant to perhaps revoking or suspending that operative's license. So it would be information that wouldn't be available to the SIA, but they do need that information if they're to be fully informed on the suitability of that operative. Does that make sense?
Chair, may I speak, please?
Just one moment. Mr. Panchal, are we clear on the individual roles of the SIA, this security industry agency, association, authority, my mistake, and the informal assistance by Dorset Police?
We are accredited by the SIA ourselves, our company, Personal License Courses UK Limited. We run courses for SIA. We run courses for personal license courses for the last 20 years.
Understood.
And that is why my question was to the police. And I'm not going to ask you anymore because I understand what SIA is. So I don't want to go in detail. So that will be all day.
Sure, I understand. I've got a further question from Councillor Dow. Do you have any further questions yourself, Mr. Panchal? Of the representation as a whole, but not the video which was submitted.
Chair, the day the DPS has a question that I would like him to ask through you regarding the presence of 2 SIS staff on the day. If you remember, you just said that we'll come back for that. So the representation by the police was that there was 1 DPS present at that very instance, but we have.
So could I just establish the fact that I don't want to discuss information that was in the exempt session, but
the clarification,
as has been highlighted, if there is any new evidence that needs to be submitted, it needs to have the agreement of the whole hearing, all parties involved. So if there is new information that you want to provide, then that's what we'll provide. But I'm not at liberty, nor will I allow discussion of the exempt session and the information which was actually submitted in there. If that information is actually in the public papers, as regards the question of dispute, then yes, we'll entertain it. But I'll need you to actually identify where in the public papers it is, because we are back in public session now, and we're actually going to continue with this review. Do you have any further questions of the presentation, the applicant's application for the review of the Riviera Bar?
Thank you very much, Chair. I don't.
That is not to do with the exempt information which we see. Councillor Dower.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make a point of clarification, if that's all right, that I understood what Sergeant Gosling had said to be exactly as Sergeant Gosling repeated just now.
As a question, I'll take that as a question because you've pointed that out and you're just asking. In my response to that question is that I find it very unusual that Mr. Panchal has asked those questions of me, knowing full well as an SIA training provider the answers to those questions, and knowing full well that we do not provide the training.
Thank you, Sergeant Gosling.
And just to reassure you, Sergeant Gosling, the subcommittee in their deliberations will give the appropriate weight or not to that particular part of the hearing. Thank you. So if there's no further questions for the applicant, I'm now going to call a short adjournment for a comfort break. If the clerk would be so kind. Welcome back. My name is Councillor George Parker and I'm chairing this licensing subcommittee on the 22nd of January. We're at the point now whereby I will ask Mr. Panchal for the premises to present his representation.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I'm going to do my presentation because I have asked my witnesses to come forward today to clarify what their positions are in the pub and how they run the pub and what the future is. First of all, I'd like to ask the license holder, the DPS, Mr. Singh. His wife, Mrs. Singh, is here. She's the license holder. But I'd like what his role and what his main role is around the area and around the BCP. To forward you what is before I.
Hi everyone. I'm Taranjit Singh, working in Bournemouth Borough Council since 2012. We got a number of property over there. We built since 2012 till now approximately 40 flats to provide BCP for the local housing community. A good little concern, that's what I'm starting in this point. So bit hurt me a few things really over there, which a gentleman says involve our 26 incident with us, which nothing to do with us. And he says our staff and we are not helpful for the community. We already provide that CCTV to the police, which police joined with us, that CCTV. That is why they didn't show us a full video and they stopped the last video I'm talking about, which is 6:36 on the 26th October one. I'm holding the previous review is nothing to do with me. We bought this property 2016. 2016, the property was rented to Mr. Thomas. If you look at the record, Mr. Thomas holding a license over there. We took this premises because Mr. Thomas surrendered the lease. They're trying to surrender the lease. We appoint a solicitor to take him to the legal side, to the court, to recover our rent. Due to pandemic, he have no asset. My solicitor advised me we can't do anything. That's why I put myself forward to transfer license under my name. In 2020, we open in December. October till December, we run this premises, smoothly was run. The fees, everything was paid to the BCP Council under my name and from my account. And we have a 15 flat planning permission above the building. I start myself and decide to close the business for the public safety, to finish the construction work and then reopen this premises. In June 24, we receive a completion certificate from MC Plan, which is a building regulation company appointed from us as a completion of that building work. And we provide 15 flat to BCP Council, and a BCP Council has rented our property more than 50%. And now it's fully occupied. I'm just trying to explain. I'm trying to help whatever I can. And it's really this point hurt me, we're not helping. If we are not helping, why we provide this next door incident? We already put few CCTV outside and we already informed to the local police whenever they need, we can provide them CCTV. Even this morning, there's some incident surrounding the area. Police was visit there approximately 10 o'clock when we received the text. They want to view the CCTV for other incident, which we already provide the CCTV. So on the day of incident 25th, we provide first aid kit and the ambulance took this person, injured person, to the hospital. We already provide the first aid kit. I heard in the other things, one of the licensee mentioned, the officer mentioned a premises layout has been changed. We have received the email. I top of my head, what date was it? And we reply the floor plan to the, I think Tanya was dealing with that. And we say, if it's been changed, why isn't the license condition after 7 p.m. no smoking outside? There is a board already there and it's part of the license. We notify them, we send them a new floor, same floor plan and ask them, and I never had after that anything. The last review, as I mentioned, is under Mr. Thomas' name, not under my name. And the CCTV shows outside the incident, as you can see, the youngster are recording that incident. Probably, I'm just thinking that person, Mr. Jamie, was involved in this matter, and he was stopping them to stop or something, and they got some sort of stick or something. That is why the problem causing more as well. This is what I'm assuming. And next door, Royal Arcade and O2, we were trying to buy that as well. When the council come to compulsory purchase, we took our foot back because council is more important for us. And now I heard council not buying that property. We had already a few meetings with them as well to help.
Excuse me, Chairman. I think a lot of this is completely irrelevant to the case that we're hearing today. It's background, but it's nothing to do with this case.
Absolutely. I'm sure, Mr. Singh, that we recognise the hurt that you have for the public papers which are being published. The dates are as they are laid out in there, but we are very much here to listen to your representation regarding the matter before us, which is the review of the Riviera Bar and the incidents which the police have highlighted, where, to my understanding, you were the designated premises supervisor. So we do appreciate the hurt that you felt, and I do appreciate the work that you've done for the community, for providing housing, etc. But we need to focus on the papers which are being provided. Thank you.
Okay. So the Casey gentleman was serving during the incident. He's not working anymore. That's the action. I already took that. And CIE staff is not working for us anymore. We appoint another company now because obviously once we sign the contract with someone, we have to give certain notice. He's not working for us anymore. We appoint other company now. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pacho.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you the idea of. I understand some of the matters are not relevant, but the idea to what Mr. Singh's position is around the area. Presently, when I visited the pub, we could see that in the morning time now, the pub is used by the local community. The local pensioners and the local disabled people visit during the afternoon time. They go up there to the pub, and it's a very prominent pub for the community. It's unfortunate that that incident happened. The action that you heard from Mr. Singh, which he took immediately when knowing that the SI staff had not done the work that they should have done at that particular instant, so they're already removed out from the premises. So that action has been taken. We are happy to even make sure that Mrs. Day, who's now qualified and has got a personal license with her and understands the four licensing objectives, has been brought on board to run the premises, to understand the premises and make sure she understands the local community. So steps have been taken. That is what my view is to the committee, to yourselves, that has the steps been taken? Yes, the steps have been taken. Yes, there was a concern. Yes, the concerns are put forward. You could see that there is a full cooperation given to the police when there's CCTV required. That is what Mr. Singh is saying, that at any time when even the fire brigade, who are under the licensing act, came down to the premises and asked for any matters to be rectified, Mr. Singh has always being known to the builders and everything, has immediately done immediately. Presently, what we feel that we need on hands. When I say on hands, means Mr. Singh's busy with the projects that are coming up with the councils and everything, and he's busy with not being present as a DPS all the time, which he should be. A DPS can nominate a person. A DPS is not supposed to be on the premises at all the times. A DPS can come in the morning and he can make sure the nominated person is aware and knows how he's handling. A DPS trains the staff, which his training records are there. Mr. Singh, prior to the employment of any person in the premises, has to train a person, sitting down and train the person to how to run the pub and how to do it. He necessarily does not need a personal license unless a condition is laid out that a person license holder should be always on the premises. So a person license holder is always now on the premises with Mrs. Day being on the
Mr.
premises.
Panchel,
Yeah.
perhaps I misheard. Are you saying that Mr. Singh doesn't hold a personal license? Because to my understanding, the presentation from the question which I had to the licensing officer, that you must have a personal license to be able to actually be qualified to be a DPS.
He does hold a personal license.
Excellent. Okay. So
Without a personal license, he wouldn't be nominated as a DPS.
All right.
A DPS not normally, but a DPS must have a personal license before he's nominated as a DPS. A designated premises supervisor's job is to run the premises on a day-to-day basis. He does not necessarily have to be on the premises all the time. He could hold 100 premises around the area as a DPS. He's allowed to do that by legal law.
Understood. Thank you.
So he is a DPS. He visits the premises. He trains the staff. He nominates. There's a nomination form, which I have in the training manual, and he can nominate as many people as he wants, as long as they are trained and they understand the law and they're up there. So he does that. But in the present situation, what Mr. Singh and his wife wishes to carry on is to bring in an operator who is hands-on, going to be up there on a regular basis. The on hands premises which I have already spoken to Louise when I rang her and said that yes, we are happy to bring in on a new operator, which the operator is happy to have a meeting with you, and if you are satisfied, we could transfer the license into the new operators. I've brought the new operator today here so that they could be in front of the committee. The new operators are sitting up there, both of them. They are also employed by Mr. Singh, and we are wishing to change the operators.
If I might just interject there, Mr. Panchal, is that we're not here to entertain a proposal or an interview, whatever terminology you wish to use, of an introduction to a proposed DPS. From my understanding of your presentation so far, Mr. Singh wishes to give up the role of DPS. Is that the case?
Yes, that's correct. And I'm not asking the committee to interview the incoming new operators or anything. I'm just saying that we did mention, or I did ring Louise up the police to say that we are proposing to change the new operator, and we would like to have a meeting, if you want, with the new operators. So I'm not asking the committee to.
Absolutely, and it is within the gift of the subcommittee here to actually decide whether or not
Yes,
the
exactly.
correct
So
action in the correct action in addressing the application from Dorset Police is to remove the DPS. So that's one of the options which we have open to us.
Yeah.
There are a variety of options that we have open to us, and I appreciate you bringing that offer to the table that
Exactly.
Mr. Singh will step down the DPS. Thank you.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to bring into. That is one of our proposals to the committee, that when you're making your decision, that is one of the proposals that you have to remove the DPS, because we are not satisfied with the DPS's job at the moment. And that would bring a lot of improvement at the premises with the hands-on DPS and the hands-on regular premises license holder present all the time at the premises. Apart from that, we have another experienced person who has worked in the pub and everything, Mrs. Day, who's also going to be up and running at the premises. She understands the local community. She understands the local place. So that's what our proposal is. On further that if you look at your bundle on page 44, if you look at the police's recommendation that if you were not, although they're asking for a revocation of the license, but if you were not to revoke the license, their idea is to say that remove the designated premises supervisor for the replace that's what your proposal is on the page 44. If the committee was not to revoke the license, the premises shall remain members of the public scheme. remove the 11.2 on the revised guidance under section 182 states that licensing authority should be alive to the possibility that the removal and replacement of the designated premises provided may be sufficient to remedy a problem where the cause of the identified problem relates to poor management decision made by the individual. So that's some of the proposals that we are showing at the moment.
Again,
we are happy to
again, Mr. Pancho, this is something for the licensing
Subcommittee
committee to decide. If we believe, based upon the applicant, the evidence which is produced in there, are you going to offer some representation as regards the points which the Dorset Police have made as regards breaches of the conditions of the license for the premises?
I have gone through. I've looked at the breaches. The Dorset Police had mentioned. I have some of the breaches that that they found at the premises, and I've gone through with the DPS, and majority of the breaches have now been complied with. And when I say complied with, if you look at 2.2, the license maintained shall maintain the existing CCTV system. It has been maintained now. There is a 31 days CCTV. They are providing the CCTV as and when required by the Dorset Police. There was a CCTV required just this morning today at 10 o'clock by the Dorset Police, and it has been provided, and somebody is there at the premises now doing that. So the CCTV is available. The member of staff, although the DPS and the license holder are here, but the member of staff presently at the shop has been able to give that CCTV without the DPS and the license holder being there.
Sorry, a member of a shop?
Member of the staff.
Staff, sorry.
At
Yes.
at the bar.
At the bar. Riviera.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry.
The SIA register is also complied with. There is a SIA register which is complied with. We've got it here presently. There are two SIA staff already employed by Mr. Singh, which will remain on. Refusal records has also been kept. But we are still upgrading, although there is a refusal records kept in the premises, which we have got a copy here if you want to submit. But apart from that, we are going to be also providing new refusal books to the premises. Although premises have all the posters and everything at the premises presently there, we are providing some more posters to the premises, the CCTV. And the challenge, the premises are going to have challenge 25 employed at the premises. There is a conflict management course that we have already asked Sarah and the present member to go through, which is online and it is free. So we're asking them to go through those courses also for conflict management, which will help. And they are cooperating with the we have also asked, and they've also applied for the pub watch system that there is around the area. There is a pub watch system that you provided to Mr. Singh. So that is also taken into consideration. So a lot of work has been carried out, Chairman, and the premises is looking into it to put down, and we're happy to mediate with the police in changing the DPS and the license. That's what we are proposing that we will be doing.
Thank you very much. Is that your representation complete?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if your presentation is now complete, we will ask you some questions, and we may well ask Mr. Singh, because that is the process of how the hearing will proceed. So thank you very much for your representation.
Thank you very much.
The first question which I'll ask from the chair is that the applicant has indicated that they don't have confidence in the DPS or the premises license holder. You didn't mention anything about the premises license holder who is here today. What is your proposal for the premises license holder?
Chairman, we're going to change both the premises license holder and the DPS.
And are you agreeable to that, Mrs. Singh?
Yes. Yes.
May I ask, if it's not been already asked, what is your relationship to Mr. Singh?
We are husband and wife.
Husband and wife, thank you. For the subcommittee, do you have some questions of the representation by Mr. Panchal?
I do. Chair, can I ask a question?
Please do.
Mr. Panchal, you've produced a lot of evidence here today to represent what your proposals are moving forward. You're given time before today to provide any further evidence before the meeting happened. Have you provided this to the necessary people here before the meeting now? Have they been given previous sight of this documentation?
Since I was appointed to for this case to represent Mr. Singh, because I know Mr. Singh from quite a long time, but since I was representing, I looked at the case and I went through with Mr. Singh in how.
Sorry, have you presented it previously before today to the people that are required to see it?
Which people? Sorry.
The licensing committee.
I have spoken to Louise. If you remember, we had a chat on.
I'm sorry. Have you presented it in document format?
No, we haven't. No.
Councillor Fowler?
No, I don't have a question at this time.
Councillor Dower?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So you've come up with some proposals about replacing the DPS, etc., etc. So at this moment in time, and since the incident, who has been the DPS and who has been the licence holder?
DPS is Mr. Taranjit Singh, and the wife is the license holder.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Can I have it? So my follow-up question to that is, when do you expect these new people to take over those positions?
They've already, although we haven't changed the license yet, but they've already started training and started working on the premises to get acquainted or to know how it is running and what is required. And if successful, what my view is to have a meeting with the responsible authorities prior to changing or prior to them fully taking over. And if that is agreeable, and if the responsible authorities feel that they are correct people or right in doing that, then we will go forward. Otherwise, we will have to look for somebody else to rectify. But that is the way forward put to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I have a variety of questions, and thank you very much for that. That's very useful. So, Mr. Singh, let's talk about the first incident, the one where there was a serious incident within the bar itself, as laid out in the actual papers themselves, which are a matter of public record. Do you want to give me your perspective on how that situation came about and what your evaluation was of how your staff dealt with that? And perhaps as the DPS, if you would have done something differently?
Let me think. Just 1 second, please. Can I speak to him?
Yes, of course.
To be honest, I wasn't feel very good about that incident. It shouldn't happen. The CIS staff could do better than at the moment I saw they done. To be honest, I have no word to say, but they could do better than this. But why they didn't done, I can't answer on their behalf. But the new staff we appointed, we already said, stay in the front of the door. We will take, especially on a weekend, so the IDs before we let anyone in, which something precaution we're gonna use this kind of thing to protect the public inside who come as a customer. And the day they could do better than this, but they didn't done SIA staff their duty. So that is why I have no word to say, to be honest.
If I, and thank you very much for your openness, etc. on that. So you mentioned SIA staff. What are the conditions in the licensing for when SIA staff are actually on the doors? If you please.
Sorry, I didn't have that.
What is the conditions as laid out in the license for when SIA staff should be on the door?
Condition Friday, Saturday, 7 till closing time. So SIS should be one staff inside, one SIS staff near the door, and second one walking inside.
And is there a requirement at any stage in the licensing for additional SIA staff?
If any events or anything, so we should appoint them.
As the designated premises license holder, Mrs. Singh, what's your typical dealings with the premises, the Riviera Bar?
Yeah, actually, normally he gives me the DSA, gives me the report, my husband. So, yeah. And normally I visit this property because we got flats up there. So we normally come here to stay as well. We go up flats up there. So, yeah.
They also have a flat up there of their own.
Yeah.
Understood. I very much appreciate that you've identified that the DPS role is not for you because things could have been done better. Can you just name the 4 licensing objectives for me, please?
The preventing of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, public safety, the protection of child from harm. That's the 4s we did.
Thank you very much. Nice to see. Mr. Day. So I hear that you've recently completed your personal license and you're now personal license holder. Oh, wait, what date was that? Just month and year will be fine.
Am I okay to take my phone out for a second to go on emails?
Sure.
Can't see the date on it. Do you reckon it's July?
By the BCP.
I want to double make sure I don't want to get it wrong.
No, it's July.
I know it was last year, because I actually studied for it for a good week or so.
Just,
Summer, was it
So-
in summer, autumn?
Coming up to the end of no, it was more like,
July.
yeah, July, August, I think, somewhere around there.
Blended.
Oh,
Can you-
sorry, I didn't know exact date.
This day, can you name the 4 licensing objectives for me?
Yes, I can. It's the prevention of crime disorder, prevention of disorderly conduct, and preventing harm to children and vulnerable. And public
So-
safety.
With those 4 statements which you made, and I hear that you are now essentially the manager of the premises for the day-to-day management. Is that a
Just
fair?
found in, yeah,
Yes. And when did that come about?
literally about a week ago.
And what's your daily, in the last week, what's your daily routine been on the premises?
So I'm mostly evening. I'm there obviously if they need me, because I'm quite close. I will help train the staff now as well. So I will work alongside either Mr. Singh or Opal himself. I also want to go through some more training, and have refresher courses as well.
Thank you very much. What's your view of the incident within the premises itself, where you were?
If I'm honest, it was really scary. Very, very scary. And that's for myself. And I've been in many pubs before, but I've never seen an incident that bad. I do believe that the staff that was on at the time could have done a lot more, especially the SIA staff.
A bit of a hypothetical question. Now that you're the manager of the Riviera Bar, what if that incident happened while you were the manager?
One, I would have tried to de-escalate the situation before it even got to that. And secondly, I would have been straight on the phone to the police with no questions asked. Before that even escalated, you could see that there was going to be something that's going to happen just by his behaviour, the way he was. The alcohol shouldn't have even been served at the time because obviously he's had too much to drink. So at that point, when you're behind the bar, you're meant to look at their behaviour. You can just tell what they're going to be like and how the situation will go.
Councillor Dow has a question for you.
Thank you. Actually, it's a question for Mr. Singh. On the night in question, so when the first video we saw, who contacted you and what time did they contact you relating to the incident?
The incident which on the 26th next door, he was with me over the phone, and then he mentioned me. Suddenly I called Casey, who was a bar staff, bartender. He didn't answer. Then I knew Sarah was as a customer there, so I called her because I knew her. That's what I call her. And then she explained me all the situation, and she was helping on that day as well. As you saw the CCTV as a public, she was helping as well.
Sorry, so my follow-up question is, so did you, so obviously Sarah wasn't employed at that time. Did you speak to anybody who was employed and in the bar at that time to let them know what they needed to do? Did you contact the police?
He said he called the police on that time, and then police asked them a few questions as well. So he provided already his statement, and he's saying to me, I'm not sure, and he already he showed all the CCTV to the police as well. Then we receive a USB stick. We put all CCTV into the stick and hand over to the police.
So on that particular evening, you weren't present. Who was present? Who were able, and who had knowledge of the escalation procedure and the communication procedure?
Casey and one other staff was present at that time.
Was that the barman?
It's a barman.
So the barman was
The
in
barman
charge.
was the person in charge while that incident was occurring.
If I may, Ms. Day, I have a follow-up question, but you have some input.
Yeah, so Casey is actually a personal license holder. So in that situation, he should have known what his rights were and what he should have been doing.
So my follow-up question then, you mentioned yourself that it was a scary situation,
Yes.
and that this individual, the protagonist, shouldn't have been served
No.
because of his manner. So if you were behind the bar, what's the process for refusal, which you mentioned?
So I would say very politely, in a very nice way, I would just say, it's enough, you've had a night, tomorrow, come back, leave, get some food, go home, see you tomorrow. Because I find that the way you talk to a customer, especially depending on what their mind state is, you never know if they're under the influence of alcohol or just alcohol and drugs, any kind of substance. You have to step in a certain way, because otherwise it can come up across very rude, or that is going to antagonize that person. So
If I may, that's fine. Have you ever refused a customer?
yes, I have.
Microphone.
Yes, I have.
Talk me through the process that you followed.
So I basically look out for their body language mostly.
Talk me through the process in this particular case where you refused a customer. It doesn't necessarily mean to be at the Riviera bar.
Okay, just in general. Yes. Okay, so I had a group of people come in. One of them had ID because I was doing the challenge 25 because they all wanted alcohol. Only one of them had ID, the rest of them didn't. So I said to them very politely that obviously without the authentication that I need, like the ID, I will no longer be able to serve any of them apart from the one that's got ID. But obviously I made it very obvious that if I serve the one with ID and I see him giving any other one of them any drop of alcohol, they will have to leave instantly and I will have to report it.
What follow-up exercise would you do, or what you did do following that refusal?
I would write it down. I would do the date.
May I press you, because you have refused a customer before? What did you actually do?
I ended up didn't serving any of them, and I politely asked them to leave, and I wrote it down.
Thank you very much. Councillor Farley, you got a question?
I have another question.
Yes, indeed, Councillor Dow.
Okay, so on the night in question, you said Casey the barman, this is to Mr. Singh, Casey the barman was the personal license holder. So were you able to present the training records to show that he'd been trained in the procedures and the processes at that time?
I have a training record.
During the event, immediately after the event, were the training records up to date to reflect that Mr. Casey had the training?
Yeah, we have the training record for that.
Any further questions from the subcommittee? Absolutely. And just to confirm that the barman on duty that night, Casey, has been dismissed from service?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. Any further questions from the subcommittee? Any questions from the licensing officer?
No, the only point I just wanted to say, I double checked. I don't know if members need to know. I double check Miss Day's license issue date, if you need that, and also the issue date is different to what the course was, so that you need the course before we can issue the license. So I do have records of both if you want. So the actual license was issued by us on the 19th of August 24. And the actual course was completed, or the certificate states the 3rd of July 2024. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Information.
Before we pass over to Dorset Police for their questions of the the representation, I have a question from our legal officer, if you please.
Yeah, the question I have really to assist the subcommittee. So you've got proposals to put, better management, more control, more
in place. But what's going on at the moment? Because you're starting to train some of these people, and you said you're sort of trialing them, and then you wanted to then speak with the police once you're happy. But the premises are still operating, the premises is still open. So who's in charge and at the moment, what's going on at the moment at the premises? But they were in charge. They were in charge in October. So what's?
Could I trouble you to put your microphone on and through the chair, please? Mr. Pascal, thank you.
Sorry, yeah, they were in charge and they're still in charge now. But these proposals have been, since they sacked the barman, is put on board to come in. And so those matters are now being dealt with because of the incident. So they are being dealt with now, and that's why they're still up there. And they are now in the view to say that we want to change it. So they've brought the new operators in and to see if the operators are competent enough and the operators are willing to stay over. The competitors are showing some interest to say, yes, we want to. And they've already been trained. They've already gone for a personal license course. They've attended the course for personal license. They are waiting their personal licenses to be issued.
Yeah. So they're quite inexperienced staff, aren't they, by the sounds of it, if they're just getting personal licenses?
Yeah, they're experienced in running it, but they didn't have a personal license with them. Okay. So people could work in a bar without even applying for a personal license and could apply later on, like days worked in the bar and then applied for the personal license. So you could apply a personal license on the later stages. You could work on anybody's premises or even in an off license without a personal license, as long as you are authorized by a personal license holder or a DPS is authorizing you. There is an authorization note for that particular place where you're working, and you could then obtain your personal license later on.
I understand the process.
So that's what they've done. They've been there at the premises now for a little while, about for 4 or 5 months.
She good experience for here.
No, Utpal and them.
Yeah, they just come 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, the 4 or 5 months they've been working at the moment at the bar now, at the premises, under the supervision of Taranjit and the wife. And later on, they would like to have their documents ready, agree the terms and conditions, because what Mr. Taranjit's idea is, he owns the freehold of the building. He may go through with them to transfer the whole business onto them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Panchal. Any further questions? No. Sergeant Gosling, questions from Dorset, please.
Thank you, Chair. I usually try and keep them to just a small handful, but you'll appreciate that from the notes that I've taken today, we've got 17, by my reckoning, 17 new pieces of information that could have been made available to us before for due scrutiny. I'll now go to the questions. I'll try and be as concise as I can. Mr. Panchal, you mentioned, and I think it's worthy of mentioning, sort of building on what Ms. Cole just said, when were you appointed to support the licence holder with this matter?
Sorry, in December roughly.
Okay, when in December? Obviously, there's not a lot of time that's passed. I say not a lot of time. The review was submitted on the 7th of November, and generally that is the time that sparks that interest, because this is a very serious matter when it comes to a licensed premises. When in December? Do you have an appointment date?
I think it was in the first week or second week of December when we were appointed. Although I know Taranjit quite on background before he's taken over the places here. But for this appointment was carried out in somewhere December. And then after that, Mr. Taranjit left for India. I think he left for India. So we had a gap where he left, and we didn't get all the instructions that we wanted. And as soon as we got the instructions, I think we immediately rang, as you see in the email from Louise, that I did leave a message on your answer phone, and we spoke about it. So I did get in touch straight away.
Okay,
so,
thanks.
Sergeant Gosling, may I just intercede just for a moment? You said that the designated premises supervisor left for India. On what date, and was the Riviera Bar open on those dates? And if so, who was carrying out the duties of the DPS?
That particular instance when you left.
I left on the 23rd and I informed Tanya as well. And due to the seasonal holiday, we say we will keep a place shut. So that's why when I come back to reopen it.
So can I just confirm what dates the premises were shut?
23rd I left to take my kids to the holiday.
And when did you return?
I return on the 6th of Jan.
And when did the bar reopen?
After that, 7th.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Gosling.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I do have a question raised in relation to, in the submission from Mr. Panchal, there was a mention of a change of the SIA. And I think it may benefit the members to understand at which point there was a change of SIA contractor and on what basis. And as a secondary to that, I think there was mention of a record of SIA staff for the 26th of October. And I guess if we could do the first question first, we'll move on to the 26th of October.
If through me, if you'd be so kind as to answer Sergeant Gosling's questions.
Sorry, this is when you want.
So the question, Chair, I propose would be that we understand when there was a change of SIA contractor and from which company to which company.
So the SIA contractor, we have a contract with them. We give certain notice before we cancel their contract. We have assigned the contract. So we give them a notice, so they're not working anymore. And we already appoint some other company. It's top of my head. Just give me, what's his name? In Primark? Bruno. Mr. Bruno, we contact them. He works at the moment across the road, Primark, and he aware all the area as well. He knows the area as well. So he had the experience in other bars as well. Mr. Bruno.
Okay, Chair, I think maybe a point of clarity. I think there was mention earlier that following something, there has been a change in SIA. If I might have misheard it, but that's what I understood. So can I just check that there hasn't been a change of SIA at any point since, say, the reopening back in June?
Sorry, can you repeat?
January. Reopening in January.
No, in January, we decided to close weekend before 7 until I signed with the new company, with the SIA. We didn't open Friday, Saturday when we need a SIA. We closed at 7 before 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So we closed that until we agree with the new company, all the SIA staff with it. So this is the safety measure we took it, to not open the pub.
Sergeant Gosling, I think it's a very pertinent point which you actually raised. So after the incident, which we viewed on the CCTV, what was your decision-making process to change the SIAs? And at what point did you give notice? And at what point did those SIAs or that firm that was providing those SIAs stop working for Riviera Bar?
Certainly, when obviously the CCTV, we saw that. That's why we provided to the police as well when the incident happened. This is our pub CCTV. When we saw they haven't done a proper job, then I decided to give them a notice. Sorry, I'm not happy with your service.
Sergeant Gosling's question was that he's concerned that there was a change of the SIA contract, right? So these are the individuals which are on the door. So at what point did you make the decision to move firms? What notice period do you have to give? And when did you actually change SIA company?
8-week notice we need to provide them. And we already gave them a notice, so they're not working now.
When did you give that notice, please?
In
relation to the incident
first
which we
week
viewed.
of November.
And when you reopened on the 7th of January, was that with new SIA staff?
We already dealing with that, but we're not opening after 7 o'clock until we sign the contract with them.
So there's not been any trade from the Riviera Bar after 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Since the 7th of January.
Since the 7th.
Thank you. Sergeant Gosling.
Thank you, Chair. The second aspect of that question, I know there was mention earlier of SIA records for the 26th. I'm only interested in the 26th of October because we made specific reference to there being only one member of staff on duty at that time. I think there was reference, and albeit that it does go against the grain with me, Chair, to introduce new evidence, but it's something very small, and with your blessing, I wonder whether it might be pertinent to have sight of that.
Well, absolutely. And just for clarity, Mr. Panchel, just for clarity, when I cautioned that the question should relate to the matters which are in the public record, I may have misspoke as regards not being able to produce the records for the when SIA staff were on duty. So that's the question which Sergeant Gosling's asking, and you're quite at liberty to answer that question, or Mr. Singh can.
I'm just to clarify that, Chair, you're asking when you said that there were two and you mentioned that there was one staff. 26, am I right in saying that?
The 26 when when this incident happened, the gentleman, Mr. Els, he wasn't happy. Then I called the company director. So rather you provide me 2 staff, or I can close that night for temporary without SIA. Then he promised me he's gonna come 1 staff, and he was there as well. But I don't know why he didn't sign it. Mr. Rosha was there as well. I remember that, and I mentioned them. He promised me he will be there. So in a book, are you talking about 26, isn't he?
Correct.
Yeah.
So for the benefit, so if I could just interject there, what I'm trying to understand, and perhaps a more pointed, direct question, would be you've got access there to the record of the SIA staff that were on duty on the 26th of August. That's 26th of October. Could you please tell members of the subcommittee how many people are signed in to the book for the appropriate time, and for what time they turned up, respecting the fact that they are due to be there at 7 o'clock in the evening?
Signing it from 8 o'clock.
Yeah, they're signing from 8 o'clock.
And how many are identified within the door book?
There's a one, and why Rosha didn't sign, that's why he left it there. He should be answer why he didn't sign on the book, but he was in there as well, Mr. Rosha.
I'll just clarify, there is one person.
At the moment, I can see is one signature on the
One
book.
signature, one person indicated in the book to be on duty in the capacity of SIA on that night.
On the 26th, yes.
Do you understand that we have to act on the information that we have at the time? So when I make that comment saying that we have information that there's one person, that is the information we're going on. So
that is why I called Mr. Rosha as well today, why he didn't sign. But as we mentioned early on, he need to start McDonald duty 12:30. He left it there, so he messaged me as well.
Absolutely, I can understand, and I can understand the reason why Sergeant Gosling is asking the question, because yes, you say that you have 2, but as regards the conditions of the licensing, then there's not a signature in the book. Now, I think we established earlier that SIA staff cannot come on at 7 p.m, but the signature in the book is 8 p.m. Did I mishear that?
No, that what is the problem on that day? Because as I explained on the 25th incident, it's Mr. Els, he doesn't want to come in a duty. We take a break 1 hour, we close it between 7 to 8 until he's there. It's a public safety. If he didn't promise me, I shouldn't open it back. But that is why we close 7 to 8 and we open 8 o'clock again. And I give my staff a little break. That's why they're gone back to.
So just for clarity and confirmation for the subcommittee, the bar was operating up till 7 p.m.
Up to 7.
You then closed it for 1 hour.
1 hour, 8 o'clock.
And then a single SIA came on and signed the book as per the licensing
And
conditions
then we
at 8 p.m. And then you carried on and opened up. Thank you.
you get the X.
Sergeant Gosling, if you please.
I've got no further comments to make around that.
It's a very pertinent point which you raised. And the subcommittee has noted it.
Could I ask, please, whoever it's appropriate to, who is responsible or has been responsible or will be responsible for delivering the training? I'm more interested in who has been responsible because the records have been incomplete. So who has been responsible for that?
Presently, the DPS is responsible for the training. That is a norm on a premises that the DPS trains the staff on a regular basis. It is on the onus on the company, whatever, whether it is a pub or a club or an off license, if they wish to send their staff on a 6 months training to our firm, which some of the companies do send staff to us for training.
Okay, Chair, can I follow up on that?
Yes, please.
I fully appreciate what the norm is. I understand what is custom. I understand what's best practice. I've done this for long enough. What I'm really interested in, and we've got ample people here representing the premises, past, present, and future. Can I understand and ask again, which individual, person, or persons were responsible for delivering the training that is widely incomplete?
Microphone when you're ready, please.
I'm doing all the trainings at the moment. I mean, in the past, yeah, I did it, all the trainings.
Okay.
Plan going forward. I think that was the second part, wasn't it?
Okay. Can I ask why the training is so incomplete?
The training book has been signed. I don't know which part you're talking about. This book has been signed. All the training parts is the CCTV part, is the cleaning part, is the safety part, and is the cash holding part, serving a customer part, ID check parts. This is all training we done with all my staff.
Okay. I'm not sure you'll be able to answer it, or Mr. Panchal, but we have alluded in the supplementary documentation that we've submitted to there being significant issues with the training records, and that was then therefore an opportunity for you to put that right by putting forward that submission. The documents are vast, and I don't propose to invite those to be produced, but can I ask why they haven't been produced in a more complete format if they were indeed complete? Because you've had that opportunity to do it.
The training book has been complete. Miss Louise already, I show her a couple of times when she was visiting. She already saw the files there. Everybody staff name, staff phone number with the training, what training record, and they have signed. I have signed as well. She already saw that the book, the file.
Okay, I don't think we're going to get an answer, Chair, because what I was asking was there's been an opportunity to produce complete records in light of the fact that we've highlighted that there are significant issues with it. My question was, why have they not been produced? But I'm not sure we're going to get an answer to that.
Understood. Ms. Day, you have something to offer.
I think I know what you're trying to get at. Do you mean instead of it just being written down, like an actual certificate for the training? So not just written down as in like actual evidence of training.
Yeah, evidence of training so that we can be absolutely confident of the quality and standard of the training that's been delivered, and to ensure that everyone working there has a clear understanding. The reason being that, of course, there are aspects of what we've seen today that cause concern, evidence that we've received, again, that highlights that concern. And it's often the case that as a result of poor training comes poor performance. And I guess it's me trying to understand why there wouldn't be the presentation of that documentation today, which might provide the reassurance, and might perhaps address the fact that we've seen lots of holes in the training that's been offered, despite the advice that's been given. And it's too late to offer that information now. With your blessing, Chair, I'll move on to the next question.
Absolutely, Sergeant Gosling. We have made a note of the fact that from when the review request went in November, that there has been no submission in writing to the sub-licensing committee.
Can I put some light on the training that they've
Well,
discussed?
only to confirm that there hasn't been a written submission to the hearing.
There hasn't been a written submission, which we are agreeing here today, but there is a training manual. We immediately gave it to Ranjit, and that training manual this morning also I saw it at the premises. I've got a type of training manual that we provide, which is provided at the bar. There is a training model similar to what I've got here, which I always carry in my bag. And a similar training manual is already there, fully conversion with which all the trainings, right to work check. There is a section 57 notification.
If I could just interject there, but that came about in December.
Yeah. So
when you were employed to represent in December.
As soon as
we're not too sure what date, but in December.
Yeah, and we
the review went in for the incident for October on the 7th of November. On the 7th of November.
Yeah.
So consequently, I think we have to accept that there has been nothing submitted to this sub-hearing today, which we can actually consider as regards what training, if any, has been completed.
Yeah,
I appreciate that you've provided training manuals from December to the premises and to the DPS and possibly to the staff, but there is nothing here for us as a subcommittee to consider that confirms that training has taken place since that incident in October.
I would agree with that, but then I would say that this is something that is already there.
I appreciate that, but that's looking to the future. Yeah, that's looking to the future. We're looking at the review of an incident that took place in October and the request by Dorset Police for the bar and the license to actually be reviewed at this hearing today. Sergeant Gosling, please.
Apologies, Chair. I feel like I've been talking for a while. I've just got one more question that's towards Miss Day in relation to understanding the to help the members to understand, I think, the experience that Miss Day has within the premises. And I just wonder if it might be pertinent to understand exactly how long Miss Day's been working there. I think it is important to understand how long Miss Day's been working there and when there were gaps in the employment, etc. Just to understand the background and the association of Miss Day to that premises to aid your understanding of how much of a benefit it would be continuing forward from here. So just dates, ideally, Chair.
So I first started there just as they reopened, and I was there for a good couple of months, and I said to Mr. Singh, I would love to do my personal license because I want to learn more about the trade. I've done it for quite a while whilst doing waitressing as well. Obviously, we've had problems in there, but nothing like that rages to the point where it did this incident. And we've dealt with that in a way that we have to. Just unfortunately, it seems like the clientele that we was getting in, it didn't really matter what was going on. It just wasn't getting dealt with the way it should be, as when you come in, you could see yourself. Obviously, Mr. Singh himself done my training with me. Most of it I already knew because I've done it previously. So when they came in, the only person that's really fully trained in that book that was written down is myself. So when they see other members of staff behind there when I'm not on shift or I'm on my break or something, because I have 2 children, I go on a school run, when they come in and that member of staff can't make a conversation or show them where these documents are, when they know that's the kind of stuff they need to be showing them, obviously that is going to cause a concern because then you're thinking, well, you're here on your own, you've been trained, but you're not doing it properly. So I do see it from both sides. I get that obviously when they come in, it's a bit like, oh, I don't know what I should be doing, but it's basically just doing your job, getting the stuff that you need there, and then addressing it when need to.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Sergeant Gosling.
Chair, with respect, I've understood a lot about what Miss Day does and her view on running the business and how it could be improved. What I'm after is quite specific details around what dates or periods of time Miss Day was working there, please.
Miss Day.
Happy to go with months, you know, work and which months did you work?
First date you.
And then you start December again.
Yeah, I started middle of December, near enough the end of December that I started back here. And I came back after having a conversation saying that.
December I left it for holiday. It was
Okay.
November hand, if you remember that.
I don't
What
know
day
if
you
I'm
left Primark?
November I left Primark.
Yeah, so end of November you come and join us. End of November.
So I joined again in November time. Didn't start fish, I only done a couple of shifts.
Sorry, when did you? Sorry to interrupt. I don't like to interrupt.
Sorry, so I was
But
there from, you know, when it.
What's your whole history? If we had to go back to 1995 and
I wasn't
what
born.
dates? No, but what I'm saying, there is no maximum to when we go back to. But when did you?
So
start, what experience have you got working? What would be reflected in your work record as working at Riviera?
Oh, so in my work record, I officially was there for 6 months. And then I left for a month because I went and got done another job. The reason for that, I'll keep. Yes, 2024. In 2024. I left for a good month.
Miss Day, what month in 2024, please? You
Did I start?
You say officially 6 months. We're having a little bit difficulty understanding because you're now operating as the manager for the premises on a personal license, which you fairly recently qualified for. And the plan is that you'll be a part of that business moving forward. So what month for specifically the Riviera Bar did you start your official 6 months? And what do you mean by official 6 months?
So
Sorry, Sergeant Gosling.
What date did you
July
open?
you started.
So July 2024.
October you left it. You work in Primark.
And I left
and
in
November and you come back with
October.
us. Yeah.
So that's not even 6 months.
So you started in July.
Yes.
You're saying you started in July.
2024.
Finished in October.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I left literally, like I said, I think it was a week or two before that whole incident happened. I was already into my new job. I obviously told Mr. Singh that I was leaving into a new job.
Sorry, that was when? Exactly what date? A week before that incident?
So I left in the beginning of October, I believe. Two to three, I don't know, hang on. Because the thing is, I can't remember the exact date that I left, because obviously a week beforehand.
How long did you work at Primark?
Primark, I was there for a couple of months.
A couple of months, 1 month, 2 months?
2 months in total.
2 months.
Because I got 2 pay slips off them. So sorry, I'm not very good with dates and stuff.
Chair, perhaps I can just help this forward. The reason I want that clarity is that there are sporadic records, as I've already highlighted, with regards to training and records generally kept. So from the information that we have from what we've been able to piece together from books, we've got records. You know, we've been told that it was July that Miss Day started. I've got records here of training, sporadic training that took place 15th and 18th of June, then 7th of July, 11th of July, 13th of July, and then we've got records in the book of beginning of August, mid-September, then we've got end of November, and then during a visit in December, Miss Day was there. And the point I'm trying to make is, as somebody that is intrinsic within that business and has been at various points throughout this past 6 months, for the benefit of the committee, I would ask what is really going to change with regards to the service delivery. I have no further questions after that.
Thank you, Sergeant Gosling.
Chairman,
Any further questions from the subcommittee?
could you excuse me? I have an emergency phone call.
No problem,
I must just-
absolutely.
Can we adjourn for
Can we
literally 2
adjourn for
minutes,
just 2
please?
minutes? Thank you.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. So there's no further questions from Dorset Police of the representatives of the premises. Any further questions from the sub-licensing committee?
None for me, thank you, Chair.
None for me, thank you.
Mrs. Cole?
No.
No, thank you. It's now come to the point in the hearing where it's an opportunity to sum up. I would ask you not to repeat the information which we've already had. However, if there is an offer of some shape, form of how things can proceed forward, deliberation by the subcommittee, then now's the time, Mr. Fanchel, to make that offer. But will you be summing up, or would Mr. Singh be summing up?
I'll be summing up in what we've heard from Mr. Singh and everybody. Chairman, I'm looking at guidance section 182.9.42. Licensing authorities are best placed to determine what actions are appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives in their areas. All licensing determination should be considered on a case-by-case basis. They should take into account any representation or objections that have been received from responsible authorities or other persons, and representation made by the applicant or premises user as the case may be. In this case, Chairman, I personally recommending to the committee that we are agreeing to some of the conditions or some of the views laid out by the 44, a change of DPS, the premises and the license holder. That is what we are seeking. There are sufficient conditions, and you have seen that Mr. Singh is changed his views and agreeing to promote the 4 licensing objectives in as much detail as he can. Has changed the views of the trainings and changed the matters that were considered to be at the breaches, which are looked into, and then matters are going to be changed. And that is what we are looking at. We're looking at the way forward for the premises business. The premises is being used by the local community during the daytime when they come in, pensioners and the communities that they come in down to use the premises during the afternoon. So, Chairman, that is what we feel that you heard from the new operators. You heard from the new manager today here. You heard about the trainings, and you heard about all the change of the SIS staff and everybody at the premises. So that is what we feel for the committee to look in before they make their decision.
That's
I don't want to.
That's absolutely fine. Just from my position as the chair here, you have closed the premises previously voluntarily when the flats were being built and the premises are being closed. If the premises are closed and the designated premises supervisor and the premises license holder were actually changed, I don't think that could happen overnight. If the premises were closed for a period of time until the police had confidence that whatever team went in there would be reopened, is kind of where I'm steering you to actually make that offer. But at the moment, then we've got what is laid out to us in the legislation, and as the police themselves indicate, that is a last resort to revoke the license. So do you wish to speak to your current premises license holder and your current DPS as regards a period where you will voluntarily close the Riviera Bar? Because at the moment, I don't think the police have definitely indicated they have no confidence in the staffing and the training procedures, etc., that you actually uphold, any of that team uphold the licensing objectives. And that's what we're here to discuss.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hear what you're saying, and I have discussed with Mr. Taranjit Singh that during the transfer or change of the premises, license holder and the DPS, there will be a time period when we will be requesting or asking the committee or that the license be suspended for that period of the change. We are happy to go through that, a small revocation, suspension of the license be carried up. And during that period of change, we would negotiate, speak with the responsible authorities for the new upcoming and have the confidence, gain the confidence of the responsible authority to make sure the premises is opened with better.
I know that I'm asking you to think from shoot from the hip, as the term is, to think fast on your feet. A suspension is only allowed for up to 3 months. Have you confidence, and more importantly, do you have confidence that you could demonstrate to the responsible authority of the police that the problems that is being caused to the community in relation to crime and disorder and public safety could be resolved within 3 months? And if not, then what I'm saying is that you could voluntarily close until such time as that premises has got the confidence of the Dorset Police and the licensing authority.
I have already discussed and with the police. I can just take a few instructions.
Sure.
Use the suspension. Is in the news. License holder in that. New license. I will suspend करके इसके साथ इंटरव्यू करेंगे. एक वीक नहीं मांग रहे. महीने वाला महीना ज़्यादा होगा उसको अफेक्ट होगा. वो सफर कर रहे हैं. Mr. Fanchal, who is told to buy a lease as a and she will be just take understood. Suspension is quite what I'm requesting or asking them, during which period we could go back and get the house in order. That's how we put it on, and go back to the police and have an interview. A short period of a month would be something that they think they could manage to make up. And if during that month period, if the responsible authorities say that no, we're not happy and get somebody else, then the extension should be there voluntarily for more period, if the suspension of a month. Because there will be a loss of business.
Just to be clear, Mr. Panchal, I'm not trying to strike a deal here. Yeah. I'm simply giving you a steer because you've come on board in December as an advisor to this premises, to the DPS and the premises license holder. There's unfortunately not been communication from the DPS to the premises license holder. In your offer looking forward to the future, then both of those individuals would be removed from dealings with the business. You mentioned that they may well give up the freehold, but I can only put it to the committee, or should I say to the hearing, if the police were agreeable. But if not, then we go back to where we are as a sub-licensing committee to consider the evidence and the presentations that have been done today and make our decision from there. So I'm not cutting a deal here. I'm simply asking you, as the representative for the premises, to make an offer to the police as regards you can restore their confidence.
Chairman, I am making an offer to them by saying that yes, there will be a change of DPS and the license holder. And prior to that change, we will be getting in touch with the police to for the new incoming license holder and the DPS, which we would say would take us a month or 2 months. But that will leave the committee to decide how much suspension period. But we would require a month suspension to clarify and make things into place.
Mr. Fanchal, does that conclude your summing up?
That concludes my summing.
Thank you very much. Sergeant Gosling, if you would care to sum up and consider the summing up that has been offered by Mr. Panchal.
Yes, Chair. You stated earlier shooting from the hip. I feel myself in that position now somewhat, so I do apologise if it comes across slightly disjointed. I've just added notes here to say that it isn't our responsibility to vet any incoming people to a business. It's not our responsibility. I have a very small team. We are public, and I'm not going to say how small. It is a very small team, and our responsibilities are written down in statute. It doesn't include the vetting. There isn't a fit and proper test, and the requirements or the ability for us to object to individuals to become DPS are very limited, and any applications to become a premises license holder are very limited, and they are only to be objected to in exceptional circumstances. So if somebody wasn't to our favour, or they weren't our most preferred, that's not an option for us to determine, unless there are convictions that are relatively serious. Okay, that's the first thing I want to make clear there. So that's the reason why we don't get involved in that. So this review, submitted in November 2024, followed the 3 incidents of concern that we've already discussed today at length. We don't review premises lightly. We do find ourselves before subcommittees frequently, both in BCP and in Dorset. This is the 3rd such hearing I've got this week. However, this is because we have concerns. Okay, this is the 2nd time for this particular premises, and we find ourselves back here again despite the number of significant changes that were made to the license last time. We find ourselves back here. I will now highlight to you some of the options that are available. I know that Tanya has spoken through those, and I know that I have provided small details, and they've been referred to by Mr. Panchal as well in relation to your options today. The first, and the one that's not written down, and I'm reminded of it occasionally, is that you do, of course, have the option to do nothing. There is that option available to you. However, I would hope that you would consider the evidence that's been provided today and agree that no action is certainly not an option. You've got the option to add or amend conditions. You've seen that these incidents happen at all times of the day, and not at the perhaps early morning hours when we most associate serious crime and disorder. The last review imposed an awful lot of conditions intended to improve the performance, and we supported that as, if you like, that final opportunity to put this premises license to support the license holder to deliver responsible licensable activities. You've got the option to remove licensable activities, and if that was an option for you, we would certainly be pointing you towards the provision by retail of alcohol, and also the offer it at the regulated entertainment that takes place, both of which we believe are associated to the culture that has developed at this premises. You've already alluded, Chair, to the suspension of the licence as an option, and I'm glad that you've brought that to the attention of the other members as well. This is always an option. However, we consider that there has been, since that last review, and to the problems that we find now, and even down to periods in between where there has been changes in the management and there's been closure, full closure of the premises to allow these premises to get their house in order, as I think has already been referred to today. Dorset Police are very firmly of the view that a further suspension, which can only be up to 3 months, would not address the culture that was developed within this premises of mismanagement. You've got the option of changing the DPS, and I'm sure it'll be confirmed by Ms. Cole, but there is not, to my knowledge, the option for you to change the premises license holder. There is talk of that today, of people handing it over. you are unable in your deliberations to determine that that is an option, and I would just like to remind you of that. That leaves us with the revocation. We have worked hard with this premises for 7 years. The date that I quoted this morning of the 29th of the 12th, 2017, when we first became involved. That's 7 years of engagement, 7 years of support, and many of the same characters are still associated to the premises. We don't take it lightly to take enforcement action, and we pride ourselves on the amounts of engagement that we deliver to the licensed community. So we do that through pub watch groups, we do it through visits, which is in fact how Louise became aware of the reopening of the premise was during visits of the area of Boscombe with a local neighbourhood officer, which is when they discovered the premises was open. Revocation is serious. However, the concerns that we have regarding this premises are equally serious. I thought this morning around this term proportionality. Proportionality is often used to, if you like, draw down, to bring down action taken. It's considered as a way of trying to reduce the action taken, but proportionality doesn't reflect necessarily bringing it down. You've got to be proportionate to the level of threat that you understand to be inherent within this particular premises. We believe firmly that revocation does reflect the level of concern regarding this premises. It reflects the fact that you will be following the guidance that previously you have considered revocation as an option, and you've decided as a subcommittee, albeit not the same members, but previous subcommittee has decided that a revocation wasn't appropriate in that instance and that there was an opportunity to get improvement. We supported that. So that's not us always looking for revocation. We supported those additional conditions. That has not been effective in addressing our concerns. We find ourselves back in exactly the same place. And I would ask you to act with absolute caution if you want to continue with this, because I have a genuine concern that we will see serious violence, potentially serious injury, if this is able to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Gosling. Ms. Joddy.
I have nothing to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Before I conclude the hearing, the subcommittee after this hearing will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and the clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within a period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day of which the hearing is heard, and the notification of the decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. Can I call on Mrs. Cole to give the information as regards the right of appeal?
Yes, there will be a right of appeal to any decision that is made today by the subcommittee, details of which will be set out in the decision notice, but generally appeal must be made within 21 days of the written confirmation of the decision. So you send them by email, don't you, the full decision? Yeah, it'll be sent by email to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.